Hey, this is Sonny from Jack's. We're here in the deep south, Biloxi, Mississippi. We're going to talk about a little magic today. With me, I have Felicia Hynes, one of my
close friends.
Are we friends?
Yeah, we're friends.
One of my teammates. She's part of Team Jack's. So we're going to talk about her modern deck today. All right, Felicia, let's go ahead and lead off.
So the deck I chose for today was Mardu Pyromancer. Starts off and is based around its namesake card, Young Pyromancer. As we all hopefully know, Young Pyromancer is a 2/1 for 2 mana, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you can create a 1/1 elemental token. So the Young Pyromancer is kind of the engine that our deck revolves around.
Now you run 4 of these in your deck.
Correct.
4 of these in your deck.
We have the playset of Pyromancers, and then the other payoff card, if you will, is Bedlam Reveler.
Okay.
Bedlam Reveler is a large 8-drop creature with prowess, but
that's a lot of mana.
Our goal is to never cast Bedlam Reveler for 8 mana.
How are you gonna get it out then?
So I've played the deck for quite a while now, and I can safely say I usually cast Bedlam Reveler for 2 mana, or maybe 3 or 4 at the most.
Because it lowers down 1.
1 for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. So it works well with the synergy off of the spell synergy with Young Pyromancer,
okay.
and so you get some free big prowess guys is the goal as well.
So how many burn cards or instant sorcery burn cards you got in the deck to feed the Bedlam Reveler?
Usually between healthily you'd want between 24 and 26, or 28 at the most.
So you can easily get out 6
easily
drop
get
out
6.
your 6/6 or 3/4 for 2, right?
Yes, and then you can use additional spells to give him prowess.
All right, what would be the next best card?
The next most important card in the deck is your enabler with flashback, which would be Faithless Looting.
Oh, that's a very good card.
A lot of people put this up there as one of the best cards in Modern, along with Ancient Stirrings. It's a 1 mana sorcery. And for that 1 mana, you get to draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards of your choosing. And it also can be flashback for 3 mana. So what this means is you can discard 2 cards you don't like, or discard other cards with flashback in order to trigger here and be able to cast it later on in the game.
Makes it really
so
fast.
Bedlam Reveler and Mardu Pyromancer will have their respective triggers off of this spell and every spell in the deck.
You run 4 of those?
4 of those, yes.
Right,
full playset.
Theoretically, you could use it 8 times without bringing anything back to your hand.
Correct.
Okay.
So the next one, and this is just my personal ranking, is a 3 of Kolaghan's Command. Kolaghan's Command is an instant for 1 black, 1 red, and 1 colorless mana, and you can choose 2 effects from it. You can return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. You can have target player discard a card. You can destroy an artifact, or you can have it deal 2 damage to target creature or player. So it's really like a 31 flavors type of card, whichever 2 you need it to do.
Yeah.
My favorites usually destroy an Aether Vial, kill a creature, and make an elemental off of my Young Pyromancer.
Lots of utility in it.
Yes.
Okay.
It's an amazing card, which justifies its price.
It answers a lot of things in case.
Correct.
So it deletes a lot of things you would normally put in your sideboard.
Right.
Okay.
So our next most important card is another card.
Now you run 3 of these? Do you
3 of those.
Do you run 1 in your sideboard?
No.
Okay.
That's an option. The sideboard's fairly based on what you're seeing in your local meta. It offers you a lot of options. But your next most important card that also has flashback would be Lingering Souls.
Okay.
So Lingering Souls is a 3 mana sorcery that creates 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. But notice it can be flashback for just black and 1 generic mana.
Yeah, so you can play it also.
So ideally what I do is discard that to Faithless Looting and cast it for cheaper, which gives me 2 elementals off of Young Pyromancer. So it's 2 elementals plus 2 spirits in the same turn. If you do
get
it that
4.
way. Yes.
You get 4 creatures for the price of 1 card.
Right.
Okay.
And so that's usually that is a 4 of every time, and is pretty much irreplaceable in the deck along with Faithless Looting. Next is going to be our suite of Hand Disruption. First we have Inquisition of Kozilek as a 4 of.
Inquisition.
I would think most folks are familiar with this one, you could have target player reveal their hand, choose a non-land card from it with converted mana cost 3 or less. That player discards that card. Your package of hand disruption comes in handy, especially with some sideboard choices such as surgical extraction, where you can actually cripple someone's deck pretty much by taking a card from the graveyard and removing it from their deck. So we run 4 Inquisitions here. And then our next is going to be 3 of Thoughtseize, the more potent.
Always been a pricey card for us. Yes. Thoughtseize.
And that would be target player reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. You lose 2 life. So you pay a little bit of life, use your life total as a resource, but you can take any card in that player's hand.
This card's been standard twice.
Yes.
Both times it's standard, it was always played in black decks. Always played.
I think it's played in almost every deck that runs black in Modern, so it's definitely a winner for me. We run 3 of these.
All right, 3 Thoughtseizes.
This fits into our hand disruption suite as well. We have 2 Collective Brutalities, another modal type of sorcery.
Yeah.
Unlike Kolaghan's Command, instead of just choosing 2, you can escalate to choose. You can choose all 3 modes if you'd like. Target opponent reveals their hand, take an instant of sorcery from it, they discard it. You can drain an opponent for 2 life, and you gain 2 life. And then a target creature gets -2/-2. So this is another one of the utility spells that you can use to kill an opposing creature, gain some life against the burn deck, or take something out of your opponent's hand.
This was very popular in Standard. Very popular in Standard. Much utility.
And pretty recently in Standard, it was rotation before last that Shadows over Innistrad left.
Well, paying that extra card to use the other abilities will feed the other guys.
Right, especially if you discard something like Lingering Soul.
Right, it'll feed them out.
Next we have our classic 4 of in Lightning Bolt. I don't think that card needs much explanation. It's a great enabler for prowess on Bedlam Reveler. It's a free token maker with Young Pyromancer. Oh, and it's always 3 damage to target creature or player.
The 1-to-3 ratio from Alpha Beta.
Yep.
You know they had one of those for every color combination, Alpha Beta. You know what the other 4 were?
I do not.
The one was Giant Growth, was green. You get +3/+3 for 1 green mana. Healing Salve was the white one. You get 3 life for one white mana. Blue was Ancestral Recall, which is going to be forever not going to be produced anymore. And black was Dark Ritual.
Okay.
So those were 3-for-1s. They
I feel like that was something I knew that I forgot. Next up in our removal suite is 3 of Fatal Push. This was a card that was very recently in Standard that has impacted Modern greatly. It was one of those that saw instant play in Modern. It's 1 black mana, destroy target creature if it has converted mana cost 2 or less. If you trigger Revolt, which is destroy that creature if it has converted mana cost 4 or less, instead if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn. Which in Modern, it's quite easy to trigger Revolt with fetch lands. So more often than not, you get the full value out of Fatal Push.
Well, do you ever say, this is Sparta, when you play that card?
I haven't, but I mean, I've thought it.
I think I would say that every time I play this card, I would say, this is Sparta.
So then here we have some fun ofs, which are kind of flex slots in the deck, but usually are removal based. So we have Dreadbore, classic Rakdos, destroy target creature or planeswalker.
That's a solid card.
It triggers prowess on Bedlam Reveler, and it gets us a token from our Young Pyromancer. And not much more to say except for my.
But you kind of have it because it says that planeswalker in there. You know, you got to have that.
That's what makes you run that over 2 terminates.
Right.
So we have our 1 of
just in case you run across that Jace or.
And then we have our 1 of terminate, which is destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated.
Right.
So it's a similar in Rakdos styling spell, and it's only 4 creatures. So your Dreadbore gives you the option to destroy a troublesome planeswalker like Liliana the Veil or Teferi. He's my favorite to get with that.
Right.
Next up, we have a 1 of Lightning Helix, good old bolt with an added life gain of 3 life, so that can be helpful if you need to make a blocker and then gain a little bit of life against burn decks or the like. Next up, we have another card that can really kind of just win some games for you. It's Blood Moon. So certain decks don't do very well against Blood Moon. Blood Moon says all non-basic lands become mountains.
The Toasted Green deck pretty good.
Yeah, so, and like spirits that's running around, I think they run just a few basics, humans. Decks like that, it's almost an automatic, you're way ahead or you win, with Blood Moon in the main deck. So we have 2 of those.
Now, if you played against another red player, you would just decideboard that.
Yeah, usually they come out, and that's what gives you utility as well. You can switch from the Blood Moon plan to something else. And let's see. So moving on to our lands, we have our 4 of Black Cleave Cliffs, not to be confused with Blood Crypt. Black Cleave Cliffs is it taps for black or red, and it enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. So it's good early game, and it doesn't cost you any life to come in untapped early game. So we have 4 of those.
All right. Affordable.
Yes. Next we have 2 Blood Crypt, which is the Rakdos Shock land. Taps for black or red, so you can pay 2 life to have it come in untapped, and you can fetch for it very easily, as it is a swamp and a mountain.
Okay.
Next up, we have our 1 of Sacred Foundry to enable us to cast our white Lingering Souls and Lightning Helix. It's also a shock land from Ravnica, and it just gives you a little more versatility with the cards in your hand. Next up, we have 4 of Bloodstained Mire to allow us to fetch for our Blood Crypts, our Sacred Foundries, and our basics.
Helps thin the deck out a little bit too.
Yes, definitely. We have 4 of Marsh Flats, which allows us to search for our Sacred Foundry or our Blood Crypts or any of our basic planes. Next, we have our classic 2 of Mountain.
Those are the nice art from Unstable.
2 of Swamp and 1 of Basic Plains. And the reason for the 1 of Basic Plains is just in case of Field of Ruin on your Sacred Foundry. Right. Field of Ruins become popular, so it gives you an option to still be able to cast your Lingering Souls. It's good to have at least 1 of each basic land you control when you're playing, just in case someone plays out 1 that turns all your unbasic stuff to nothing. In case somebody plays a Blood Moon or back to basics, in the case of one of our locals, John Burdick here. Moving on to the sideboard, if you're ready for that. We have a 2 of Ensnaring Bridge. Now,
what's that going to handle against?
So, Ensnaring Bridge is going to protect you against something such as like spirits. With Bant spirits can become very large, and they quickly overwhelm your 1/1 spirits. So, if you can keep your card count in your hand low, then they can't attack you.
Yeah. Sometimes you just empty your hand, you can't get attacked anyway.
Right.
0.
So with Ensnaring Bridge, that's kind of one of the slots in the sideboard that is based on what your local meta or what you're expecting in an event you're going to. But it's definitely a good one to have. We also have Goblin Rabblemaster as a 2 of. Just as another aggressive slant to the deck to if you're playing, where you feel like you need to be more aggressive and win faster, he gives you that option. And he is a 2 of. Next up, we have Kaladesh's favorite, Campbell Consul of Allocation. It's whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you basically drain gain them for 2 life.
Right.
I like him against storm decks, control decks, anything like that, where you can, get him out, and as long as he stays alive, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Next up, we have one of my favorites, Surgical Extraction.
The Extraction time.
I like to use this along with our Hand Disruption suite to, basically take away from your opponent's game plan. So if I personally am right now switching to a couple of Fulminator Mages in my sideboard, and Fulminator Mage allows you to, destroy a land such as a Tron land, and then Surgical Extraction would allow you to remove that land from that player's graveyard and deck.
Okay.
And that way it kind of forces them to play a fair game.
It's a pricey card.
It is. It
I
definitely
remember
is.
when it came out new for Phyrexia, it was a standard in every black deck out there.
Well, and just having the option to pay 2 life instead of to pay the Phyrexian cost is amazing with that card.
Right.
So you can tap out for a Fulminator Mage and still grab the card you want in the graveyard. So that's a 2 of 4 of in some sideboards. Next up, for our problematic tribal decks like humans and spirits, we have Anger the Gods.
Anger of the Gods.
It deals 3 damage to each creature, and if those creatures would die, they get exiled. So this one, especially more recently, has been good against Dredge, because you really need to exile their creatures, like Prized Amalgam.
It's like an angry pyroclasm.
Yes, definitely.
Angry pyroclasm.
Definitely. Another little graveyard nod here would be Nile Spellbomb against decks like Dredge. Yeah, you can exile the cards from their graveyard. It is a one-time use as opposed to something like Leyline of the Void or Rest in Peace.
Right.
Which this deck could also run either of those, based on the colors of mana that we have. So it is very flexible. Next up, we have one of Engineered Explosive.
Man, this card has shot up in price the past couple years.
And based on the fact that we play 3 colors of mana, we can take out a variety of 3 mana costed creatures and trouble decks that give us the most trouble, like spirits or any token maker decks. Yeah.
How much is it worth now?
That one, I know it got reprinted in Ultimate Masters, and I haven't priced it since. I imagine it's gone down.
It was like about 40?
Yeah, probably 40 or 50.
I remember when it was standard, it was a solid $8 to $10 when it was standard. When it first came out, and then it was played all the time. We couldn't keep it in stock. But when it found a home in I guess, Modern here, or Commander, man, it just shot up in price.
Oh, yeah. And it's got great artwork. I mean, you can't hate on that. Next up, we have a one-of Liliana the Veil.
Classic.
Everybody should know what she does. Probably the most famous Liliana that exists, and one of the best Planeswalker. But she gives you hand disruption. She can make players sacrifice a creature, and obviously her ultimate should be game winning. But a lot of people flex that one out depending on what style of deck you're going for. I personally will switch her between her and Liliana the Last Hope. Depending on creature decks, Liliana can the Last Hope can debuff, and her emblem just floods the board with zombie tokens. So it's basically personal choice and what you think you're going to be up against. Another one to add in, we have another Collective Brutality. If we're going against something like Burn, where we need some life gain, or just some more removal and hand disruption.
Yeah, that
will give us the playset it should give us 3 total. Yeah, Collective Brutality.
2 main deck, 1 sideboard.
Yep.
Okay.
Some people run 2 main deck, 2 sideboard. It just depends on what your local meta is showing. That, and then we have a Wear and Tear.
Wear and Tear.
Yes. Destroy target artifact or destroy target enchantment.
Came from dragons?
Is that dragons or? I'm not sure of the set symbol. I'm bad with those. My husband gets me all the time with those.
Wow. Dragon's Maze, isn't it?
I think so.
That's Dragon Maze.
But anyways, it's versatile, so you can destroy an artifact like Aether Vial, or you can destroy an enchantment like Rest in Peace. We don't like Rest in Peace. So we need our graveyard with this deck. So I mean, depending on what you're up against, especially with Dredge being popular lately, I would recommend running 2 of these so you can get rid of Leylines of the Void, Rest in Peace.
Now these for new players, these half and half cards, you can cast one or both halves of this card from your hand. I think originally when it came out, you can cast one or the other, right?
Yeah, it has fuse though, so you can cast both. Yeah,
if it doesn't say fuse on it,
it's one or
the
other.
other. But this card has a fuse on the bottom. You can cast both of them if you want to, one or the other. So it's very utility. It puts together 2 cards, makes 1. Really, it kind of splits Disenchant.
Yes.
Because Disenchant can do both for 1 white, 1 colorless.
And it slots into our colors perfectly. So that's the last sideboard slot there.
So what is this deck called again? This is
Mardu Pyromancer.
This is your version of Mardu Pyromancer.
Yeah, this is actually Kyle's version. My deck, like I said, there's a little bit difference in the sideboard, and I don't run Lightning Helix, but the engine and most of it is the same. I like playing with it because it's super interactive, and while it's not broken, it does have game against pretty much everything. So if you like interactive decks, if you like, you know, gold fishing for what you need, this is a good choice.
All right, this has been our discussion of the Mardu Pyromancer modern deck with my buddy here, Felicia. Again, you're at Jack's, and we'll go do some more of these videos talking about some other decks later on. So, Happy New Year. If I don't see you till then,